the sacred matrix in a little deck here, so it'll go away in just a minute. I'm your host, Jennifer Lessin, with my co-host, Dr. Sasha Alex Lessin. This is the Sacred Matrix on Revolution Radio, Studio B, and our producer is Tom Spector, also known as the Mad Painter. And our guest today is Russ Kellett. We've had Russ on many, many times with us before. But he's a UFO investigator for over 20 years. He's appeared in several television documentaries as well as numerous television talk shows. He's worked closely with local and national radio stations as well as local, national, international newspapers. And he's always had good publicity, sharing information on local and international sightings, while he sticks to his strict code of witness confidentiality policy. Russ Kellett is over in the UK, and he's a contactee, experiencer in the military, fighting extraterrestrials on far distant worlds, for racists and against races that are not human. He was drafted against his will and must do as told or die, as incoming hostiles threaten to destroy him and his comrades. So we've had Russ on many times before, but we always love having him here. Dr. Lessin, what would you like to say before we bring on Russ Kellett?
This is a chance to catch up, and I'm really wondering, have you had things happening lately?
So aloha, welcome back to the show, Russ. Good to have you back.
Aloha. Hi. Thanks for having me on this.
Good. Say it again.
He's thanking us for having him on the show.
Oh, thank you. So I know are you writing a book or something? I spoke to you on chat. Are you in the middle of a book?
Yeah, it's coming. What happened was, in the late 90s, I wrote a book and a script, about my experience, what I'd had, and searching for the truth, and what happened was I actually set out and I started up a UFO group and basically started looking for answers, with other people, as you do when you set up a group and you have meetings. And we had monthly meetings. We had talks about what was going on, about reports and sightings. We had quite a few people that was from over here anyway, that was quite well known in the field of UFO investigations, coming over and talking at our meetings. And then we had the grassroots people. That is the people that may have not have wrote a book, may not be in, the limelight in magazines, but people that had seen us in the newspaper and looked at meetings and come along and then told us, well, look, the reason why I've come to your meeting is because this has happened to me. So when that happens, it's quite amazing, because, what you're doing is you're getting the people that you're looking for, people that claim to have seen UFOs, spacecraft, and some of them up close and personal. So these are the very people that I was interested in speaking to because of what had happened to me. So in essence, really, I'd set this up for my own purpose, and that was some kind of solace, trying to figure out whether it was me going crazy or whether, there were people.
Were you finding that other people were having contact like you were, or was it just sightings in your group back in the 90s?
There was a mixture, to be quite honest. I mean, we had monthly meetings, and every month we had reports, we had, sometimes there would be, just lights in the sky or something that was travelling. The problem is that, people expected us to go out and investigate their reports But when it's something that looks like a star, that acts like a star, you can say it's probably going to be a star. And
Right.
we didn't have the funding to go out and look at every report that was coming in. So what I decided was to let's look at the things that, that don't look like a star, that don't act like a star, and things that are actually moving. And what we started to get was disturbing in a way, because we had people talking to us that were talking about having things outside the bedroom windows or things that had landed near the home, and then having these, what you would call shadow people, or these like ghost-like creatures coming into the homes. And one particular place I remember, I remember it like yesterday, when we'd gone over to an area, a quarry, and this put my thinking cap on, because we're in no man's land in a way. We was walking across a field behind this this new sort of like estate, these houses that had been built, and it was on the edge of a quarry. And remember, it's my group, and I had members out looking around where this UFO had been said to have come down. Plus, the same time, we had video footage that had been given to me from this this block of it were like if I remember rightly, it was a big building in the city centre, pointing. The cameras were pointing over in this direction, where this housing estate was and where this quarry was. And you can see this big ball of light turn up, and it's exactly what the witnesses said that they'd seen, a ball of light that just seemed to come down. One person didn't see it come down, one of the witnesses. They had seen it from the bedroom window. They said the whole outside of the actual bedroom just lit up for no reason at all. What their thought was at the time, it might have been a police helicopter looking for people, like burglars, or maybe looking for somebody stolen a car and run away from the car, and was going through gardens, and they thought it might have been the helicopter light, you see. But it wasn't. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that whatsoever. What it turned out to be was that this craft had actually come down and it had landed in the quarry, right? So
they like the quarry.
Say again, sorry?
They like to land in the quarry, where they. Yeah. We had a similar where I was in Penn State University, and we had Penn State University UFO discussion group that met once a week, and we were given a classroom. We held about 35 students, and so I was thinking we'd have a lot of lights and everything, but we had a lot of encounters, and we had a similar thing. A very big ball of light came down and landed, and someone was saying that was the moon, and so the one student managed to get pictures of, there was the moon and this gigantic ball of light that was larger than the October harvest moon, which is pretty large. So we had similar things going on the same time period, late 89 to 93, we were meeting. So this is interesting. We have a correlation here. So go ahead, continue your story.
So I'm walking across this field behind these houses, and I have got a million candle brightness torch, and I'm looking around, and we'd gone past these wooden stakes, and these wooden stakes was like somebody's idea of like, what you would call a fence to stop you from going any further. And the barbed wire, what had happened is some lads used to use this area for trails riding on motorbikes. They shouldn't have really. Must have knocked these fences down. So we walked across past this, and I'm looking with this million candle brightness torch, only to realise I was stood on the edge of the quarry with 6 of my members behind me, and we're about feet away from falling over the quarry, right?
Wow.
From going 150 feet down. So I shouted, stop, don't move any further, go back. But when I basically looked down to the ground, and it's a very bright torch what I had, you could not even see the bottom of the quarry floor. Yeah. So I realised then that this is probably the area where the craft came down in the quarry. Now, we went and we spoke to people, and we had a meeting that next month, because what happened was I used to have a shop, and I had a little factory outlet where I made military and outdoor clothing. And what happened was, after a certain time, I closed my shop, and it was in a complex where we had an indoor, there were a cafe and an area, a seated area. But because I was in this building, because I was, one of the people that rented from them, I could actually use any of the rooms for meetings, you see, as a meeting room. So what I used to do is I used to close up, and then on a Monday night, I used to basically get a coffee and have the meetings there where I worked in this lovely place. Anyway, we had these witnesses. I spoke to somebody, and she said that she would bring a neighbour. And there was 3 neighbours, and they were all different religions, right, yeah? And they all turned around and said, one turned around and she said that she thought, that it was the Holy Ghost, a spirit, she was Catholic. An Indian lady, she said that she thought, it may be a god, because she was like Hindu. And she says, like spirits. And then this Muslim lady and her son, they said these things are bad, these things we think came down, and there were jinn, these jinn, these spirits, that create mischief or good, just depending on whatever they want, So we had 3 different points from people thinking that were more or less something very similar to what you could find in their religion. Then we had a chap that had contacted us, and he said that, he says, I've lived around that area for years, he says, and he says, it's not a nice place. He says, it's not a nice place whatsoever. And he said, it wouldn't surprise me what happens there around this quarry. Mm-hmm. So, that was one of the things when I first started out looking, for answers, that I was getting, things that were tangible. But not only were they tangible, but we had evidence, because there were video footage pointing in the same direction when these objects had been reported of basically coming down and landing, And I've still got the video footage today.
They went all the way down into the quarry, though. So they went so deep that they weren't sitting at the same level as the Earth. They were down hundreds of feet, right?
That's right. Yeah, about 150 feet down in the quarry. But now this is a very strange thing. People, like I say, that had seen these lights then told us things, but they didn't want to tell in front of everybody else. And what they said was, my house had been haunted by these spirits. Right, yeah? The lady and the son, the lady and the son who were Muslims said these jinn had been in our house, and their husband did not want to talk about it, you know, and there was a point where he wanted to move. The lady that was, I think she was Hindu, she turned around and she said that these things, again, like ghosts, she says, what walking around in the bedrooms upstairs. And the other lady, who was a Catholic, she said that, you know, at first I thought it might have been the Holy Spirit and what have you, but she said, you know, they don't come like this, she said, because she says they were like shadows of people walking around. And she said, I did not have, she says, you know, if it was something holy, you would have a nice feeling, you know, you'd have a good feeling. And she said, what I was feeling was not good, you know.
And we had a thing in our group over in Pennsylvania, in the United States, when we were meeting, people reporting. This one fellow said that he woke up and they were gray aliens, and he actually was punching them. They were physical. He fought them. So he came every week telling us how he was fighting them. I had bright lights going off in my house, and at one point I was paralyzed. Most times they were taking me. One time I was paralyzed, and they took my husband. But you can see the bright lights are on, even though your eyelids are closed, because they were so intense. Same thing all around my house. Now, was it because we were meeting that made these experiences happen more? Or were we just meeting because we were having those experiences and we found each other to share? I'm not sure which was first, the chicken or the egg. And then one fellow, similar thing, lots of houses being built, and he was out in the field. He got surrounded by a bunch of reptilians with the cloaks, and he was absolutely surrounded 360 by these reptilians. Same thing, housing project in the field. So, and this was State College, which had a university in the middle of the country. It was in the country. What did you want to say, Sash?
I just wonder, Russ, if you think your group was signaling or getting or bringing, by your coherent field, bringing contacts in, as well as just investigating as a result. Are they not mutually, do they not imply one another? You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. You know, without me basically looking and asking, there wouldn't have been, they wouldn't have found us. So they've obviously seen something as well that's brought them to my group. So it's one of these things where obviously they're seeing things already. And I'm looking for people. I'm looking for people because I've seen things, and I'm trying to explain. I'm trying to say to myself, look, I know people are saying that I'm crazy, right, yeah, but there's more than me that are seeing these things. The difference is that, yeah, I'd seen the shadow people, and I know what the shadow people are now. I came to understand when you see, what happened was that whilst this was going on, I'd already had an head injury, which some people believe that is one thing that MK Ultra look for. But I I wasn't at my lab. I wasn't taken by, human and the military as such. Now, that usually applies with people that have had head injuries when my lab's, being looked for. Mine were different. Mine were actually aliens that took me, and not the actual military. So I'm looking, like I say, I'm looking for solace, something to make me feel that, I'm not crazy, although I've learned that I probably am. But, I was looking for answers. And the problem was that I started getting more and more questions. It's like, there were women coming to the meetings and they were saying that they had experiences with these, like, alien greys, EBs. Now, there's two ways you can look at this, because we did have a lot of television where, a book had come out and a film had come out, and, some people were saying that it could be, people wanting to feel that the different, that the special, and looking at, this, say, like this person's account and wanting to jump on the bandwagon. Well, all as I can say is over the past, 30 years of being involved, that I've seen quite a bit of that. I have seen people that I would say that are wanting to be taken, that are saying that, this has happened, and maybe not, but who am I to judge, if you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, let me add something to that. We've had that question, right? But during that same period, I was in my second marriage, and I wanted to have a baby. So I was going to a fertility doctor, and I had to take my temperature, because right before you ovulate, your temperature drops, and then it goes up really high. So I was charting it. Now, I didn't want to get pregnant by ETs. I wanted to have a baby by my husband, and I was paying a lot of money for this fertility stuff. But those ETs would come right when I was ovulating, and then they would come 2 weeks later, and it seemed like they took the egg. And I was absolutely furious, because I was spending thousands of dollars, and they were, I was in my 30s. I was in the age where I could breed. And the women at that time, weren't a lot of them, but a few of them were having a similar experience. And they, too, were of the age where they could reproduce. And nobody wanted to have anybody coming in. But because we were aware of the phenomenon, we were able to, explain it a little bit more. Plus, they were making sure that I had conscious contact. They would return me with memories of what had happened. I would have physical markings on my body. I came back one time with an encounter with reptilians with these large scratches on my back. And so anyway, I don't know if that was what was happening with your group, but our group, I was dealing mostly with students, male and female, and they were all, of the breeding age. They were at college, probably 18 to 30, right? Yeah. And we seem to be targeted. That was a population they were targeting, all these people that were fertile.
If the shoe fits, people can wear it. It's just as possible that their memories are being jogged by the confluence of experience with some Me Too phenomenon. That the confluence. Why assume that they're wrong? Start with the assumption that they're reporting their experience. It seems to me.
Most people in the 90s were really to talk. They were really afraid.
Yeah. Well, you've got to ask yourself this. This is the whole point, right? Yeah. That you could actually say, well, is it a case of that something is putting this in their minds, basically saying that this is what's happening when it isn't that, and it's something totally different.
We'll never know, because this whole
how would you know?
Because
Because
we're living in
if something's got the power to come in to wherever, if it's somebody's home and what have you, you know, they've got the power to do anything, to be quite honest. They've got the power to put a different memory there, you know. Are they really doing what you think they're doing? And this is the question that I'm asking myself.
Russ, I keep asking myself about you is, do you have some power back to affect them?
Do we have power to affect them?
They care what you think.
I don't know what you. Sorry, I must have misunderstood what you meant then. Sorry.
So look, when you're in relationship to your commander, say, and you're fighting in an engagement,
yeah,
you have thoughts, and there's feedback to the people that are bossing you around. Your thoughts and what you learn go to them, so you're giving them something too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, one of the strange things about that is that when I'm back in my unit, that, we're communicating. One of the things what happened to me, I was taken out of a unit and put into a different unit, right, yeah? Because I had become, or had I always been telepathic? And I was put into a unit which was a telepathic scout unit, right, yeah? The reason for this is that I could feel the enemy, these aliens, these other races of aliens, at least 5 minutes before they actually turned up by the mechanism what they were using. So I could basically point out to an area and say, look, you know, they're coming through in that area before they actually came through. But not only me, the other unit members, right, yeah? Now, we were in a what you call a scout unit, right, a telepathic scout unit. But also there was a unit which was what you would call the security, special security, right, yeah, that actually looked after that alien race's bases, right, yeah, and on their own planet. And most of these soldiers that had this ability were actually female. Right, yeah. It seemed to be a trait that female humans had, that they could feel the enemy and see the enemy coming through to an area before this group of alien that takes us. So they're very, very important, because what is happening is that they're keeping that race alive. Right, yeah, they're keeping the race alive, because without them to be able to do this, they would be under attack continuously and without any chance of stopping them. So we are a very big part.
Sense. Wow. That makes so much sense when Enki, Lucifer, took genes from Bigfoot's ancestor. The reason he did, he said, this Homo erectus, Bigfoot, has got telepathic abilities. It would be so great if the humans we fashion had some of them. Oh, you're one of them.
Yeah.
You had women in your unit that were they were more telepathic than you were, or were they as telepathic?
You won't be in a unit if you wasn't. you know, and it's one of these things where you either are or you're not. There's no such thing as more or less.
Okay.
You know, having said that, maybe some people could feel maybe, you know, that these things are going to come through maybe a little bit sooner than others. But usually, you know, if you were telepathic, you were telepathic, and that's it. You were chosen, and you were either a scout or a guard.
Was it more powerful when you all did it together than when you did it alone? If all of you did it together, did it enhance it?
Well, let's put it this way. We was given partners, right, yeah? We was given partners. The others had like what you would call quarters, or what you'd call in America probably dormitories, you know, living quarters, where we would be basically chosen and put with one of the other, a female, you know, telepath.
Uh-huh.
And usually,
that sounds nice.
Did you get romantically involved, or were you just stay platonic with each other? Were you permitted
very hard not to. It'd be very hard not to.
Yeah.
You know, that's all I'm saying. Let's not go there.
Let's go there. Okay, so back to your group. So you started having all these things happen with your group back in the 90s.
Yeah.
How did you meet till? Are you still meeting? Did you stop meeting? Is your group still together?
Became a movement.
I met until we were still meeting up until year 2000, and what we was doing was we was getting together and going out filming, because what we realised is that one or two of us were seeing these things and filming them, and it was a little bit of in a way, it was a little bit like, I can do better than you, I can get better footage than you, you know?
Uh-huh.
It was a bit of a competition to see who could get the best footage. And in my group, I would say that we had some of the best footage ever, and some of it never seen, because of the people who were telling you that the truth is here in magazines, and, you know, what were basically keeping it from you. Right, yeah. I was asked a question. I was asked, how comes you're not talking at the big conferences over in England? And it's because the person that run them, who was the editor of a magazine, turned around and says, we can't talk about this. We can't talk about aliens abducting people, putting them in an army. We can't talk about, coming back and seeing, you know, what looked like a civil war going on. Oh, aliens with guns and we can't talk. Don't sell magazines. So the problem is, the other thing is, what I found out later on, the very same person were talking behind my back and telling people at TV studios that the footage that I'd taken were nothing more than hand gliders. Right?
Uh-huh.
Now, the thing is, I used to call upon experts and expert witnesses in different, you know, it could be in all sorts of different things. You know, sort of like if you wanted a sample looking at, or a metallurgist, you know, or for instance, video, you know, or photography, photographic evidence. And, you know, basically paying quite a bit of money for them to come and to look at, you know, our evidence. And the thing is, we knew by the chap that were looking at our evidence that we had some good footage. And all of a sudden, one time, I heard a statement, so-and-so, this person who runs a magazine, he thinks it's this. He thinks it's this. And I said, look, I'm not bothered about what he thinks. he's fought too much in the past and told other people and gliders, you know. I said, in that case, I said, you know, I'm not interested in what he's got to say. I've come to you as an expert. What do you think? I'm not interested in what he thinks. And from that day on, I stopped using that person. You know, it was like somebody were muddying the water who was supposed to be selling magazines, telling you that the truth is in this magazine. I said, that's it. As far as I'm concerned now, you know, it's like the evidence what we've got, they could never tell us anyway just what the craft were that we'd videoed. They couldn't tell us for definite what it was. They could tell us what it wasn't. I'm not interested. I know what it I know that I haven't filmed an aircraft, an helicopter, the sun, the moon, the stars, anything astronomical. I'm wanting to know what it is that I've filmed. And the problem is, they can't tell you. So, you know, you're spending, wasting money on a pointless exercise. We knew what we'd filmed, for goodness sake. It was in front of his eyes, and it was not of this earth. You know, many of the things, definitely. You know, the flying man. It looks like a flying man, but it wasn't. It came over, and it was a triangle. A dolphin in the sky. You know, sort of like people saying hot air balloons and, you know, these balloons that are in the shape of dolphins, and there's no tethers. These things are just in the sky looking around. And, you know, it's me being zapped by 5 balls of light when I'm filming. I put them up there on the internet, and they've been up, you know, and the thing is, people still won't believe. You get silly comments and rude comments. You know, and I always say, if you can do any better, get out there and do it. You know, I've stopped bothering now. I used to get really annoyed. It affected me to the point where, you know, do these people think I'm lying? Well, the truth is probably they do. And a lot of it is down to jealousy. A lot of it is down to people that have never had an experience, that are jealous of you having that experience.
So,
and believe it.
Debunkers. There are professional debunkers that want to make it, you know, so people don't believe you. They don't want to believe what they see. So they make it. They try to embarrass you if you believe that. They go, what do you think you are? You know, but we encountered professional debunkers. We would have debates at Penn State. We had there was a really famous debunker back then. I'm drawing a blank on his name, and he sent in a college professor. And, you know, they are just professional. They're trolls. And they've been around for 50 years now. So you know you're onto something when you get the trolls. That's all you know.
Oh, I've had it, believe me, I've had it so many times. I mean, one of the reasons I've got 4 backup computers, because I know that my computer originally was all right. Now there's a problem with the sound. I've had to use this tablet. I've got another backup tablet. I've got a couple more laptops. Nothing new, but just backups, just in case, because all this started with somebody sending a virus and hacking me Facebook and my computer and calling names and getting people to join my group and then to attack us. You know, to the point where I don't have a group as such anymore. I do it off my own back. And, you know, I don't even take UFO reports as such, because what we started doing...
Is this your intelligence services or the British Men in Black? Are government making it hard on you? Who are these people?
Well, the thing is, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. I know that there is one person that's been disgruntled, and then because I've been involved with a famous case that I've been working on, a person has jumped on the bandwagon, and then somebody else has. And the problem is they're all there on Facebook, and, you know, sort of like all, how can I put it? Basically, you've only got to put something up about a piece of your footage and what have you, and you'll see them just swooping. And there's 5 people from England, and if you put anything up, those 5 people will come up with something, and usually it's some astronomical event that's happened, or it's somebody, it's Venus, or it could be the moon or Saturn, or and there's one that it used to belong to a group, and it's so, these people are so predictable. You've just got to watch them. The thing that I'm worried about the most is that I see people who are my friends, that I've had them speaking at my conferences and things, and they seem to have stabbed me in the back. And the thing is, it's like, well, why have you done that? Why have you done that when I've never done anything wrong? And then you just realise this is what, it's not only in this group. People have told me it's in other groups, it's in every group that's on the internet, different subjects. And unfortunately, it's humanity. It's a trait that humans have, and it's called jealousy. And if it isn't jealousy, then there's something more. And that something more could be a case of the powers that be. It could be, but I was told that I should not be talking to anybody by the aliens that took me. No, you shouldn't be doing it.
Back to that, Sasha has a question. Go ahead.
Oh, it's not a question. It's really obvious that government manipulates people to take their money and property and lives. That's what's underneath it all, I think.
Right.
Yeah,
so I have a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Answer. You could answer what did you want to say about what Sasha said?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's one of these things where, they can do all sorts to you. They could basically say. I mean, I had something very bizarre. Somebody that told that I'd been making a lot of money, and I had somebody coming knocking on my door, and they said, "You've been earning money from filming, and you've been doing this, and we want to see accounts and all sorts."
Wow!
Unbelievable.
Wow. Well, there's in this field. Might be a couple that make money, but for the most part, we're spending money. I had a question about, you said earlier on that you knew who the shadow people, you know what the shadow people are. I want to revisit that.
I should do.
Who and what are the shadow people?
I should do, because I'm one of them. I turned out to be one of them.
Okay. Explain that, please.
It's in the book. It's a device. It's a device, and basically it's all there in this book, and it's a device. And my girlfriend, I say girlfriend, she was a girl and she was a friend. We hung around together, and sort of like she turned around and she basically said that I walked through her bedroom wall. She was having a stay over with a friend, and basically we're talking about ninjas and about me and the group that came through a wall. So it's one of those things, I was able to do.
You're like a shadow person rather than 3D solid. What's happening that you're not looking totally solid?
Because we're going through physical objects.
Uh-huh.
When Joan was flying around you, what did she appear like?
Oh, that was another phenomenon. But I've seen the shadow people.
Well, it's as simple as this, right? Yeah.
Like
we're teleporting. We're teleporting.
Go ahead.
Right? Yeah. We're teleporting.
Okay.
So when you're teleporting, right? Yeah. you basically turn into a shadow and you walk through solid matter, and then you come out at the other end, and then you're still basically a non-solid object until you materialize at the other side. So this is what happens. So they can see the effects of somebody when they've just come through or going through. But you can keep the unit on and walk around in that mode and go through another obstacle.
Right, right. So
it's a two-slit experiment. You're just like the molecules that the wheel and make the energy turns to molecules. Yeah. That's wonderful.
That's all we have.
So there's that. So and we've seen the suits they have now. The military have the suits, and they walk in front of something and they block it, and so there's that effect there too. Now the Greys or aliens have taken me through walls and through windows and doors, and then I actually, without any kind of technology, have gone right through doors. So there's a lot of things going on.
They've got that technology and they're using that technology. It's like, for me, it's like when we stole something, right, yeah? And it was a certain piece. It was a certain piece of technology, right, yeah? It could have been even biblical, right, yeah? And when my unit came and put a cover over this certain thing, right, yeah, and then teleported it out of there, right, yeah, it's like, well, that would have been sneaky, because I would basically involved in that actual, we was on that mission, and I wasn't told about this, and I was told to watch for these very strange, almost pharaoh type Egyptian aliens, and I wasn't even told. I was told to lay a lot of firepower down where these aliens were, and to keep away from this area. And this is when they just came in and nicked this thing. This is in the book as well, and I'm thinking,
something.
Jealous, yeah.
Was it the Ark of the Covenant?
That's a question.
It's the Ark of the. You got it. You got the Ark. What you do with it? But if you can take it, then they can take it back. It's probably a game like.
This is the whole thing, But the thing is, this is why they've got the best guards in the universe, which are from Earth. The best security, the best security are the people from this planet. And it's a lot of them, like I've told you before, female. And then there's like myself. So, and right. The thing is, this is what I got told. This is when they took my memory from me, because I was not supposed to tell anything. And they said, the problem is you're telling things that could get you killed, and they could find our race and home, the special place where is home. And I had to have my memory wiped. So
then it comes back, right? Or parts of it come back. It's like it doesn't take. You would think they had better technology that would keep your mind wiped, but then things come back.
No.
It's not just that. Russ's mind is growing bigger and bigger too.
Yeah, but the thing is, unless you've had it happen to you, it's unbelievable. I mean, I was in hospital when this happened, right, yeah? I was taken to hospital, and, I've got what I did was, when I was researching, I got all my files, I sent off and wrote for my files, and I got them all, and, reading through them, and the times and everything of my abduction when it happened, and it coincided with the taking of Stormy Norman when he took Kuwait and what have you. So I know exactly the time, the day, and everything when it happened. I know the time and day when I was taken to hospital, when they actually took my memory, and the feeling, that feeling is absolutely, it's atrocious. It's the most terrible feeling that you could ever come across. When I was admitted to hospital, I was taken and they basically put me in an isolation unit, for 3 days. I was in isolation unit, and my parents came. They had to look at me through a window, in the room. They could sit down and talk to me through a window. Can you imagine what that feels like?
I think you had something contagious. Is that why they were isolating you?
They didn't know what it was. All I knew was that I was talking to my dad, and then I started talking strange, mixing words up, and I was telling him things, and it was coming out muddled, and I'm saying, oh, forget it, and I'm reading and I'm looking at a paper, and I didn't know where I was, and then my mouth went really strange. I couldn't talk, and then I said I've headache, and I was sort of like, I had my hand over my eyes, and my dad said to me, Mum, look, I don't know what it is, but there's something wrong with him. He took me straight to the hospital, and accident and emergency. I was sat there. I started to be sick, and sort of like he went home. They admitted me to the hospital. Then when he went to the ward where I'd been admitted to, they turned around and said, "Oh, he's over at the other hospital next door, and he's in an isolation unit." So my parents came to see me, only to find me in this room with a window, and they could only sit outside and communicate through a window. So there was 5 things it could have been.
Did they ever give you a diagnosis?
Oh, well, when I came out, they said that they thought it was meningitis, hepatitis. It could have been AIDS or a couple of other things, and they said, but it was none of them. But they looked at me. I had a brain scan, and what they said was that there was peculiar activity, but they couldn't make out just what was going on. But they thought it might have been a stroke or a seizure, or it could have been most likely a migraine attack, a severe migraine attack, because I'd lost taste, I'd lost smell, I'd gone blind almost, and I was like deaf. And I've still got problems with my ear, my nose and my eyes, even now, today. But I found out what that is.
Was that years ago? How long ago was that?
That was round about, I think around about 2000.
Okay.
So I mean, it was some time ago. But of course, then, being taken, we used to, you see, technology changed even back there, in our base. We wore helmets, as well as this suit, this amazing suit, what they call super soldier suit. And I mean, I was writing about this and talking about this in '98, and I've got a clipping. I think I put the clipping up on Facebook. And this is long before super soldiers. I'm talking about this. and about weapons, and aliens have weapons, and there's a battle going on, right? Yeah, and this is long before.
We'll have to talk about that after the break. We're at the top of the hour, and we'll be back in 5 minutes, so we'll see you live.
Okay.
Aloha and back. Welcome back to the Sacred Matrix on Revolution Radio. And I'm your host, Janet Lessin. My co-host, Dr. Sasha. Our producer is the Thomas Expert. And our guest today is Russ Kellett. And we're having this incredible conversation about contactees and the extraterrestrials and the secret space programs with soldiers. But before we get back to our conversation, I'd like to remind everybody to please go over to revolution.radio and scroll down to the bottom of the first page, and there's an address where you are to slow mail a donation to us. Please, we need your donations to pay the bills, keep the lights on, to keep bringing you programs like this and the other 80 or 90 shows that are on the two Studio A and Studio B. So thank you for your donation. We appreciate you. And Dr. Lessin, what would you like to say before we bring back on Russ?
Well, I'm just utterly fascinated with this idea of a code array of people that can sense what's going on at the distance and their collective abilities and the possibilities that this really is demonstrating to us. That's wonderful. It blows my mind.
So back to your involvement as a super soldier. So you were saying before the break. What was he saying before the break? Testing your memory, honey. No, he doesn't remember either. What were you saying before the break, Russ?
Right.
About the super soldier.
Yeah, basically. Can I just say, you just commented, Sasha, on something that I'd just like to go back to, which is part of the Super Soldier Project anyway.
Okay.
Without the telepaths, this race of alien would be stuffed, right? Yeah, because not only do they use us, to fight alongside them. Usually, it's to take over and destroy bases where there's been prisoners taken and slaves taken, right? Yeah. So in a way, we're doing like a job like the United Nations, I suppose, in a way you could say. But also, they need the telepaths because their own planet, right, yeah, has been decimated before by these races of aliens that attack them. And because they had technology and they could basically get through their security by this technology, but the telepaths could see them coming. They could see the teleportation systems working, right, yeah? And the time travel devices, right, yeah? Now, the thing is, the problem with this is there's a very, very big problem. And that is when you're taken, there's teleportations used or time travel or both, right, yeah? Now, the other thing is that we're dealing with the telepaths, like myself. It's not a good thing because when I came back, right, yeah, I still had the traces of telepathy. And I could tell what people was thinking about me when I was talking to them. Could you imagine what that's like? You can.
I've had those breakthroughs as well. So what was that like for you, though? Were you able to block it out and not comment on it? Did you realize when you were getting what they're thinking about you that they weren't talking to you? Did you realize that you were picking up their...
Yeah,
okay.
Of course. But remember, I'd had this happen to me in a different time and space, right, yeah? This is now back in reality or back on Earth at the present day. So I'm talking to people and the so-called friends and families. And, you know, I'm getting like, oh, what's that idiot thinking now? You know, oh, don't say he's on with something else. And even your parents could say things or think things. Oh, no, you know, sort of like, and you take it to heart. And I spoke to a friend about this, and I said, I don't know what to think. And they said, what? You're telepathic. You can read minds. And I said, I didn't read minds as much as I could hear them. I could hear what they were thinking, you know. And he
Did
said,
you
well,
ever
look.
bust them all?
Pardon?
Go ahead. What did your friend say? Go ahead. Your friend said.
I better not repeat it. He was thinking the same things as the others, but he was honest about it. And he said to me, he said, look, he says, we all have off days, yeah? He says, you know, I've turned around and said, oh, God, Russ, you know, I could punch your lights out and kick you up the backside sometimes. You know what I mean? Because you annoy me. You know, you might have done something or you might have said something and I don't agree with it. He said, I don't love you as a brother any less. You know what I mean? He said, you're still like a brother to me. You know what I mean? He said, but you get up me nostrils sometimes and I could beat you. You know what I mean? He says, and I'm sure you feel the same about me. I might do something to annoy you. He said, but you just get on with it. You know? He said, like, you know, somebody, your family member says, oh, what's he doing now? And he says, I feel like that most of the time when I see you. Now what you're up to? Oh, not something else. You know? And he said, it's just one of those things. He says, what you've got to, he says, I'm sure that you can do it and you can, you know, and you are telepathic probably. He said, but what you've got to do, he says, is, you know, sort out the wheat from the chaff. From those everyday, oh, hell, you know, I want a boot up my backside, you know, to somebody who's thinking maybe something a little bit deeper, a little bit more nastier, and a bit more cleverer to come out in that sense. In other words, the real nasty, vindictive things, what people think, and not a throwaway comment, if you know what I mean. He says, it's those comments, don't take this to heart. He says, you know, because if you did, he says, you know, it'd blow your mind, which it did. It did for a long time. I was thinking, why have I got this? Why me? You know?
Right.
But this
still have that?
Pardon?
Are you still telepathic in that way, where you can hear thoughts?
No. This seemed to happen. This happened more when I'd come back from a mission, right? Yeah. When I'd come back from a mission, you know, sort of like it was like I was a different person, and I was just settling back to normality, but I still had this trait, you know, that I could do this. And after a few days, it would dissipate, it would go. But, you know, for those few days, it was hell. You know, it was hell. You didn't want to go out. You didn't want to talk to people. You wanted to just, you know, be in your bedroom, listening to music and be left alone, you know. But,
so did that happen every time or just once in a while?
Most of the times. Yeah.
Are you still on active missions, or have they retired you? Or are you still being taken?
Something happened. Something very strange happened, which we'd been using an headset, And then we went on to implants. And we had these devices put inside his eyes and his nose and his ears and down his throat at one point. And
so they put inside of you, in your eyes and your ears and your nose and your throat. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And one of the things, what I've found and realised these were there were units that went in so that the aliens could see through my eyes, right? Yeah.
Right.
So when I looked, they could see, but they could actually project an image through my eyes, right? Yeah, and data. So a data reading would come through my vision and tell me the planet that we were on, our enemies, their allies, and technical information that we'd need had come up in front of our eyes. Excuse me. So we'd had all this data coming through our eyes, and we'd get shown images. If we needed a map, the map would just come up. If we needed to see what the aliens looked like, we'd know what alien race it was, and the allies of the aliens. All that data had come up in front of his eyes. And then obviously his ears, they were communicating. So I'd get back to headquarters and talking to headquarters, or if we were talking to team leader 1, 2 or 3 in our regiment, or if I want to speak to somebody in one of the other regiments, one of their team leaders, or I needed to speak to our commando, sort of like I could just basically speak to them. I could do it either silently or I could talk to them like I'm talking to you now. So there was all these devices. Say again?
Are they able to monitor your vitals with the implants, like your heart rate, your your pressure? Yeah,
everything. Plus the suits that we wear do that as well.
If you're having a heart attack, they could yank you and get you to medical.
Yeah. They just pull us out, sort of like just, there'd be no problem there whatsoever.
What's the purpose of the ones down your throat?
I'm not sure about that. I think it's something to do with breathing. There was something. It felt like something went down into his throat, but I had this funny taste, and I still get them. It's a metallic taste as well, and sometimes I taste it in foods. I'm eating foods and I'm thinking, oh God, sort of like this is like being back, sort of like in my quarters, eating their food. What we have and what have you. Not quite there. They haven't got the chicken casserole right yet, but it's almost there.
So, we could talk about food. So, are they putting you in different environments that might not be normal, environments like ours, so you have to breathe different types of atmosphere?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Plus, I think it's something to do from what I presume is that if you're going from technology, from like the teleportation, excuse me, if you're going from that to another mode of transport, which could be the time travel, I think it's something to do with the time travel, why they put that down his throat. So
interesting.
It's something to do with keeping us. I'm not quite sure, I mean, I do try to ask.
In the Philadelphia experiment, they lost their connection to the timeline.
The coordinates, yeah.
The coordinates. So there might be certain coordinates associated, like in remote viewing. So, you have a certain coordinate from when you were born into this body, into this timeline, and maybe they have to maintain that coordinates for you to get back here.
Unless somebody... now, it's funny you should say that, right, yeah? Because if you get hijacked from that timeline and taken by another race of alien, it causes big problems. Because
right, and you had that happen, right?
I have, yeah. Yeah, unfortunately.
What problems caused for you?
What did it cause for me?
Yes.
Well, basically, not feeling like I'm like feeling disorientated when I'm back, and not
right.
How can I put it? Just not in sync, feeling slightly out of sync.
Right. What did they do to correct that? Or did it just wear off?
No. What's got to happen is they've got to take, right, if another race takes me, right, yeah, basically hijacks me and takes me back and puts me into a time, right, yeah, and it's out of sync, my unit has got to come back and find me and take me back to where I were originally. Right, yeah?
Right.
But
doesn't that change your past if you went into the future and they brought you back, but the back they brought you to has got changed because you did that?
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It causes no end of problems. This is what I'm saying. It causes no end of problems. You know? And this is something what people can't understand. You know, this is why these people don't take prisoners, you know, because, you know, what they're doing is not right, you know. And the thing is,
right.
Well, if I believe in Christ, Jesus, right, yeah, will I go to heaven, you know, sort of like because I've been taken and messed about and put here and taken and brought me back in a different place? Am I the same person? You know what I mean? All sorts of things run through your mind. It's like, you know, it's hard to explain to you, but it's like, oh, you know, you start thinking about things. If I've done this, you know what I mean? You know, it's like I didn't go into a military to be a soldier. I've been taken. So, you know what I mean?
Right.
Just so many questions that you ask yourself, you know? But I feel I actually feel out of sync. Sorry?
Do you have an idea from all of this exposure to the extraterrestrials, how this universe is organized, or at least this galaxy is organized? Is there how many races are we talking about? Is there a hierarchy? Is there some kind of order? Is it total chaos? Do you have some kind of idea? Because other people come back and they say there's a federation, there's a council, there's, you know, the Archons, there's the Dracos. What
time police? Yeah.
And there's time. What are you getting? What sense are you getting on how our reality is organized from your cosmology that you're encountering?
Anarchy.
It's total anarchy.
Chaos.
Is there something like?
It's just like being back on Earth. It's the same as being on Earth. You've got all these politicians, right? Yeah, left, right, and centre, right? Yeah, it makes no difference whether they're left, right, or they're all a set of, right? Yeah, and they're all after one thing: money and power, right? Yeah,
yes,
and sort of like.
Yes. Where you're going, you're still using money.
Say it again.
Where you're interacting, you're still using money. They use money. You're saying. Do you have any downtime when you're off at war? Do you get to go to the cantina or something? Do you get to
of course,
get a beer?
I was telling you that back at my quarters, I was telling you in the kitchen, you know, I had chicken casserole, and the coffee tastes not bad, and what have you. One of the orange drink tastes like apple. So they have got things right. The chicken casserole, has a funny metal taste. But the funny thing about it is, what I'm finding today, which is odd, I'm buying food from shops, and I get this funny taste now, and I'm thinking to myself, like it doesn't taste like it used to, and I'm thinking to myself, either they're using artificial meats and pretending it to, you know what I mean? There's something not quite right. I can't put my finger on it, but it's like I'm thinking to myself, it's the same taste as being back on one of the bases. Right. You know what I mean?
So it's all Soylent Green now. They make it look like they want us to see it, but it really could be Lord knows what.
Exactly.
Bodies.
Well, you know something, right? Yeah. I was talking on BBC Radio last week, yeah, and they were talking about this astronaut from England, and did they call her? Oh, I forgot her name now. Helen, is it Shearman or something? And she'd said that there's probably aliens walking amongst us, right? Yeah. And didn't hear about that.
Wait a minute.
It made the news.
It made the news, right? So this regular astronaut is talking about aliens walking among us. What else did she say? Did she see them? How did she know this?
Well, this is a big question. So they asked me, and I think there was another astronaut who said that, if I'm not mistaken, she said that aliens exist, and I think she died under very strange circumstances, right? Yeah, a couple of years ago. So anyway,
okay,
very, very, very odd. So what happened was that they asked me, they said, do you believe? And I said, as an abductee and part of this super soldier project and a secret space program, not the secret space program, because there's many programs. There's not just one secret space program, right, yeah? Because
we're aware of that.
There's many different countries involved in these programs, and many different allies to these aliens, and many different aliens, and that's the problem. So I said to them, I says, it's strange we're talking about abductions and people that are taken by aliens, and do you know the numbers of people in this country that have been abducted, that have gone missing, that have, basically turned up on missing persons website. Okay. Do you know how many we're talking about in England alone?
How many?
How many? We don't know.
Hundreds of thousands of people a year. Hundreds of thousands of people a year. Where
are they going? Have you encountered in the space programs, in the super soldier program?
On the slave bases.
Are they selling them off as slaves?
They're working on different planets, mining for different, sort of like golds and other minerals, etc. I
heard that some of them are sold as food, as meat and stuff.
That's to the other aliens. Yeah. I spoke to a chap, and he said that he was on. He called it an abattoir spaceship. He said he was on an abattoir spaceship, and he said it was full of. He says you could tell, like you've got something that's been killed and hung upside down. That's a pig. you look and you see it's a pig. He said, you get something that's been killed that's human, hung upside down, you know what it is, you know? You know if it's whatever, you know, whether it's beef or a lamb or sheep, you know what it is. And he said that it were humans. And he said there's a distinct smell that to that day made his stomach turn, you know?
So that's probably why they said in the Bible, go forth to be fruitful and multiply, because we're all product of some kind. We're slaves in the mining program, or sex slaves, or soldier slaves. Or
organ banks.
Organ banks, yeah. So this is really perverse.
It certainly, and, you know, the thing is, you know, sort of like when you've got what you call a very politically correct radio station that don't like to be, you know, and I know that everything's not normal with what they talk about and what they believe, but this is a little bit too far out there for them, if you know what I mean. It's like, oh dear, well, you know, this is somebody telling the truth.
Jimmy Kimmel and January Jones were talking on a show today that they both saw, at least they were talking about the lights. January Jones said, yeah, I saw a UFO. It went this zigzagging all over the sky, and then it disappeared, and it didn't go like any plane. And so Jimmy was kind of like not making fun of it and talking about it, but almost making fun of it. And at the end, he said, yeah, I saw one of those as well. That did the same erratic, zigzagging movements that our planes cannot do, disappearing. So that's big. I mean, that's a mainstream show, Jimmy Kimmel, and that's a movie star, Jimmy. So maybe something's happening. And she said, I want to know. I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's going on up there. I want to know what's going on under the ocean. I want to know.
So when the benign common narrative is exposed for the hard lies that go underneath it, heads are going to roll, and the pitchforks are coming for the royals.
Yeah, but the problem is, Sasha, that it ain't ever going to happen for the simple reason the people in power are not going to let it happen. You know,
right?
They've got too much. It's like I saw something the other day, and it was so funny, and it was Ricky Gervais telling the people that were going and getting the awards just how crooked, you know, the whole system is. And sort of like anyone, he was telling them, I ain't ever going to work again. I'm a millionaire. To you, it don't really matter, you know. And it's like, these are the people. Now, the problem is, the big question is that if the government do know what's going on, they must have a deal, which they say happened anyway, don't they? About the technology and given, you know, a certain percentage of people from this planet as food, right? Yeah, and others are saying that. So, and this is in our history. Then we've got Admiral Byrd saying that, you know, this war's still going on and it's in Antarctica. Some people believe that it's moved on to all the rest of the bases, underground bases around the world. And the thing is, if these aliens are quite able to pose as humans, how hard would it be for them to get a job or to be put into positions in the government or even in the media, right, yeah? And to basically run things.
It's happened. It's so true, Russ.
Yeah.
That is reality. Paperclip, von Braun. The Nazis have major bases, and they buy and sell human beings.
David Icke, when he was on the BBC, was in the chair getting his makeup, and it was Tony Blair was 2 chairs down, and Tony shapeshifted and showed his reptilian eyes to David. And that's what turned him on to the reptilian. Oh, my God, this guy's shapeshifting. And he revealed himself. So we don't know who's really running the planet. It could be a bunch of shape-shifting aliens.
Well, we know that Eisenhower turned down one deal and then and took another one. The tall gray. It's all recorded. The tall grays offered him, we will give you medical technology, but nothing you can use as weapons, and you have to stop testing nukes. And I said, so no deal. And then the grays came, and he made the deal. You can take a certain amount. I think they exceeded the amount for a while because they were in their breeding program.
Yeah, well, we have all these stories. But go ahead. Yeah.
This is it. I mean, a lot of this that's coming out is basically hidden history, or part of the history has been brought out and shown to people. So but we've got 70 years after now. So we've got 70 years after that. So what's going on? What's the technology? I can tell you. I mean, the technology that I've seen, I can honestly call it magic. The things that I've seen, I can only call it magic. I've seen things in front of my eyes happen, and from the very word go, I said, "This is magic," you know.
So,
and
some of the technologies you've seen that you're calling magic, besides the teleportation through the walls and time travel, which is pretty magical in itself, but there's a science behind that, or spirituality, or consciousness. There's people that can time travel without technology. There's people that need technology.
Or craft locomotion, even.
Yeah, what other things have you seen that are magical?
Well, I mean, the thing is, I've seen an accident happen with the technology. So, you know, because on one of the devices, right, that if you walk through an object, a solid object, and remember, we've got weapons and all sorts, so sometimes we're laden down with things. And this person didn't use his technology in the correct manner, and it malfunctioned, right, and he got stuck inside a solid object when he teleported, and when he came out of the teleportation, right, it was still halfway through a wall. Not nice.
Did he die?
Well, yeah. Yeah. And that is, you know, you just don't want to see things like that. You know, they're almost out, but they're stuck, and they become fused with that solid object, you know, and just absolute horror, like an horror film, you know. Yeah, so there's not a lot you can do, you know. So, you know, you're seeing things.
Like that. Is that something a common occurrence, or you've only seen it once?
Thank goodness, I've only ever seen that once. But it's something it taught me a lesson, you know, with the technology, you know, that we were wearing, to make sure, you know, that we're out and from a solid object into the open before that device, before it kicks back in. Well, like I say, you can hold that down and walk around and you're okay, but you become a shadow person. You become a ghost, basically. You become a ghost. You know, now some people can see, if you're telepathic, you can see that. I can see it from other people when they're using that same actual technology. But, you know, it's like when you try to explain to people say, no, those things are ghosts and not people. Well, the ones that I've come across, this is why you like that. But why are people, you know, I ask myself this, why would somebody be using our technology in somebody's house? And obviously it comes down to one thing. There must be an abductee somewhere there, because they're using that technology to go through and then to give them the technology to take them out of that house or building. Do you see? So I always think to myself, right then, if you see these things, you know, there must be something going on. They must want somebody, or must be taking somebody for a reason.
Have you ever been revived? Have you been killed and revived? I've heard some of the 20 and back people or super soldiers have been killed and their limbs restored, or their arms, their head put back on, all kinds of things. Have you ever had that happen, Russ, to you?
I've had injuries. Yeah, I've been shot in the head. I've had my head put through a glass door. I've been shot, you know, but I've never. I don't think when I got back. I know that I had memory loss when I came back, and I was thinking, what the heck? What happened when I was in the sick bay? You know, in the medical unit. What the heck did they do with me? Did they put somebody's head back on my body? Is this the same me? You know, joking aside, I said to my sister, have I always looked like this? She said, old and knackered, yeah. So, like, I don't think I am.
You have to
Pardon?
Well, I wonder if someone had been in that program and like they restored the head, would there be some marks, or can they? You see, in science fiction, they take that little machine and they just wave it over the scar and it disappeared. Would they be able to remove all signs of, you know, transplanting your head or an arm or something?
Oh,
yeah.
They can,
marks, yeah.
It's like I said. The thing is, it's amazing. You know, it asks you the question. You know, if they can do so much to us and stop us from like dying, etc. You know, sort of like, would you really want to live forever? You know, sort of like, and you know, it's like, isn't this enough for us? Isn't like 70 years and 10 enough for anybody? You know, to live in this.
Some of the soldiers say dying is not an option. See, once they put so much money in you and they've invested in you, they don't let you die. So some of them are, I guess Penny's been in the program 60 years working for them.
That's right, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm coming up now for that age, and somebody told me, he said that I would have 20 him back 3 times.
Right. We've heard that.
So it's like, well, I think it's time I retired, don't you? I mean, I think it's time I retired. But you like the problem is, and this is the problem, right? Yeah, I'm still living my life, right? Yeah, up to I think it was 2 years ago. I've got the date somewhere here in one of these books, and it tells me when I was. It says here somewhere where I had implants taken out of my ears, my nose, and my eyes. Right, yeah. And I'm just trying to find which book it were in, and it gives a date and everything. And I was sort of like really, really worried about this. And my sister had gone to bed, and I said, I had something very strange happen last night. These things came. I ended up back into this room, in this seat that turns out when it goes back, it goes into like a stretcher, a medical bed, yeah. And I said to her, I can't understand why the hell is this happening again? You know, I thought all this had stopped, and I'm sure. I know it's in one of these books. It's in one of me, and I put down, you know, about it happening, you know, and I did actually put on my Facebook. I did put a note, and I said, I had this happen to me tonight, and does this mean if they've taken things out, they've taken implants out of my ears, my eyes, my nose and my eyes, and, you know, what is going on? And I was asking, you know, because I didn't know what the heck was going on. But I know for certain, I've got it written down in one of these books. I think I've got about 8 books now, you know, with all notes in it and things. Yeah. But, you know...
so what do you think was behind it? They take them out. They put them in...
Because he was blabbing.
No, the implants for things like maybe they don't want you to have somebody look at them, so they took them out so you couldn't go to the doctor and somebody would see the things in your eyes and your ears or something.
Well, it's funny you should say that because, I'm having a problem with my right eye and my right ear to start off with. I had started to go to hospital again because I had to go. They thought I wouldn't have to have microsurgery for a kidney stone that I had. But I had this other laser sound on me, which I think might have set it off. Because it's a kind of thing what we're using as weapons, right, yeah, which is a sonic. A sonic gun, what basically dissolves the actual kidney stones, right, yeah? Now, the thing is, very similar to one of the weapons what we use to destroy the dragon race or the, would call them lizard people, right, yeah? So I don't know whether that started it all off because I'm on a machine having this pumped into my back and being pounded, thinking to myself, flipping heck, this is what we use on aliens. And then when I get home, you know what I mean? When I get home, I start having all this happening now. And I don't know whether they came to see, what's going on. How comes, has he been hit by one of his guns?
Right.
Well, I'm getting a miniature world inside you where all this is going on and you're little teeny and so are the aliens and all this is a battle inside of Russ.
Yeah.
If it's going on outside, it must also be going on inside.
Yeah. So, then I had these things come and take me things out of my ear, my nose and my eyes. And, but they're the devices, they're the implants. So the thing is it a case of they're scared of me going back to hospital, like you say, and having people look at these? Will they show up on x-rays and on CAT scans? Yeah. And I'm thinking, I don't want to be going back in hospital for them again.
I think sometimes they do, and the doctors are not sure what to do. But I'm starting to get reports that people are saying, there was somebody recently that said, some of the doctors are getting wise to it because they're aware of this phenomenon. So I got my ear implant. So they gave me an implant in 1958, and I have horrible hearing loss in that one ear. But when I went to the doctor when I was 4 years old. I came in and told my mother that something had happened. And so she ran me to the doctor. So we're talking about in the 50s, and that doctor didn't know what to make of it. But later on, I got a implant in my nose, and I went to because I had horrible sinusitis. So I went to a doctor, and she took a x-ray. And she came and showed me, and she says, "What's this in your head? What is this?" Now, that was back when I was at the Penn State UFO group. And I wasn't going to tell her that because she's a regular medical doctor. But I'm thinking that's my implant. But maybe they're starting to take them out because our medical field is getting wise and they don't want to provide any proof.
That's what happened with the cameras inside my buddy's eye, and Russ had little camera things inside his eye too.
Yeah, so the cameras, I guess, are detectable when you go get certain eye exams.
Well, this is it.
Maybe the our eyes they show up. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, funnily enough, when I came out of the hospital and had been to the doctors, on my medical reports, it actually states on my doctor, on his report, it says Mr. Kellett is in a UFO group. Now, nobody has any idea why he has put Mr. Kellett is in a UFO group, right?
Wow.
Because Could you explain that? Any ideas?
Yes. Reporting it to the government. They've got instructions. When you have some of this stuff, don't tell the patient what it is and just report it to the M15 or whoever it is.
Yeah, well, this has been said, and it's there in black and white, and it's in the book. This is going in the book. You know?
Yeah, there's, and I bet you got other cases where the same thing happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the two doctors, when I went in to hospital, and they said, if we didn't know any better, we would swear that he had space sickness.
Ah.
Yeah. So they're winking at you. They say, we know, and you know we got to cover it up, but we know that you know, and you know that we know.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, like, where have you been then? You know, I bet you've been a naughty boy somewhere, haven't you? You know? I think I just might have been, you know? I've just blown 3 cars up in one of the cities in America by accident, and what have you, shooting at a dragon race, alien, and got me butt kicked by my own unit. Pardon?
I've encountered members of the dragon race, and they come in many sizes.
Yeah, they do.
What's the largest race you've encountered?
I've come across, there was, there's one which is like a blue dragon. Then there's one which is like a stony grey, greeny colour, and then there's a white dragon, right? Yeah, which I only got a glimpse of. But there's the other.
How tall are they compared to humans?
Oh, 10 foot tall at least. 10 foot tall.
Right.
You know, some are even taller. Some are about 15 foot taller. You know,
right.
But I tell you, and they're scary. You know, sort of like your heart just pounds when you see them, because you just know that, you know, they're not of this earth. You know what I mean? It's like, but the other ones are the pharaohs. Have you come across them?
What do you say? What word? The pharaohs?
Pharaohs, yeah, the Egyptians.
Yeah.
I've seen the ones that look like the bird beings, but I'm not talking about Corey Good's blue avians. These were natural bird colors, you know, from browns and grays and tans and golds and stuff like that. But they were like tall humanoid. They had legs and arms and the big feathers, and the heads were bird-like.
You know, at Chichen Itza, they have a statue of a dragon opening up, and Kukulkan, who is Thoth, or Ningishita, but he's the Egyptian Thoth, emerging from the dragon. He's riding the dragon, or the dragon's giving him a ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us about the pharaohs. What were they like? Describe them to us.
Well, again, they're very tall, about 10 foot tall, and they're a browny red colour. Yeah, but light, you know, a lighty, but a really odd colour, you know. They're neither black, brown, or red. It's some, and they're tall, and some of them have got long black hair, right? Yeah, not afro, but they've got afro features, right? Yeah, some of them have got afro features, but then there's another one, and it has a bull's head. It has an actual bull's head, but it's human body.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I've seen, I was at the council, and the 3 beings that were leading the council meeting were almost like boars, like a boar.
A boar, yeah.
But they were more plastic looking, more like a boar, like a very strong species, muscular, powerful, very powerful species.
And the next one it was like a head of a horse, and it had a dark red mane. But yeah, it was a human figure, the same colour, and like the red, like what do you call it, of a horse? You know, the fur of a horse. You know, the mane as well was dark red. And
yeah, Randy Kramer said he'd been at these huge meetings and they were peaceful, but just about any species you could think of, they have a variation that's bipedal and with arms and hands.
And dog. And
he went over to the table with the dog beings, and then they have like a universal translator. So no matter what is your native tongue, everybody's able to understand each other. So I wondered if you had been to anything friendly. Was just always war, or have you been interacting in a friendly way with other species?
I would say, to be quite honest, no, because it seems like there's this war going on. But remember, that's only me. I mean, and that's only what I've come across. There could be other things.
In your barracks, your buddies, the people that you fought alongside, was it only humanoids, or was there any non-humans that were among your pals in your unit?
Occasionally, they do take prisoners, but not often. And it's to get information from them. But they're nearly all humanoid, mostly humanoid. And like I say, most of the guards and the special scout patrols are women, females from Earth. Mm-hmm. So, but I mean, I'm still trying to get my head around it. Even now, after all this time, 30 years, I'm trying to figure out just what the heck's going on.
Well, we're almost out of time. I want to make sure we know, have you titled your book? What are you going to call your book?
Well, it could be one of two. It's either E.T. Rider, right? Oh, dear. Or Through the Eyes of an Alien, Once a Human.
Oh, wow. And are you going to have more than one book? I'm sure you could have dozens of books with all those notes you have. I hope this is the first of a series.
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, this is the first this is going back to 90. It actually says in a cutting when I were in the paper, and they said that it could be a film and a script because, people were saying, wow, when I was telling them about what had happened to me, and they were saying, this sounds like a bestseller. It could be a film even.
Thank you, Russ.
Thanks, Russ.
Thanks for having us on the show. Good night, God bless.
Bye. We'll do another one.
Thanks, Sasha. Good night, Jenna.